Breaking news. The Iran ceasefire on knife edge as U.S. blockade tightens. China missing in action. Oil tankers reroute. Economy could collapse in months. Trump sets Israel-Lebanon talks today. Greetings, humanity. Today is Thursday, April 16th, 2026. Let's grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner, using Grok each weekday to summarize the biggest headlines in the news today. You also get my opinions. So let's grok the most important news in the world now, starting with our lead story. Dateline Washington, Tehran. The fragile ceasefire between the United States and Israel is holding for now, but a U.S.-led naval blockade of Iranian ports and the Strait of Hormuz continues into its critical phase, raising questions about whether diplomacy can prevent a return to open conflict. U.S. officials, including Stephen Miller, say the blockade can be extended indefinitely if needed, while reports indicate that it is already working, with China notably absent from major shipping activity and oil tankers rerouting toward the Gulf. Analysts are watching closely to see if this pressure forces Tehran back to the negotiating table or risks broader economic fallout. Pakistan has stepped in as a mediator, with delegations in Tehran pushing for renewed U.S.-Iran talks. Hopes for a breakthrough are growing, even as both sides appear open to dialogue without firm dates set. Meanwhile, the White House has offered no clear estimate of the war's costs so far, even as it seeks increased military funding. The blockade has already disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital energy choke points. Tankers have been ordered not to pay any Iranian tolls, and questions swirl about how many vessels are still crossing. This observer is sure that the U.S. Navy knows exactly how many and what types of ships are afloat there. Global oil markets remain sensitive, though the S&P 500 has recovered as the ceasefire holds. More on that later. On the ground, the regional ripple effects continue. Israeli forces have carried out strikes in southern Lebanon with reports of a triple-tap attack killing paramedics. Hezbollah has claimed multiple attacks on Israeli positions. Trump has announced that Israeli and Lebanese leaders will hold direct talks today, amid ongoing doubts about a full ceasefire. Netanyahu has signaled plans to expand a buffer zone and to keep striking Hezbollah targets. In Iran itself, the economy is under severe strain. Experts warn it could collapse within weeks, perhaps months, under this blockade, with hundreds of thousands of jobs already lost. Broader questions linger about China's role and whether a New Deal, better than the old Obama-era agreement, is possible. This observer doesn't see how any New Deal would not be better. Back in the United States, the focus remains on containing the conflict while managing domestic political fallout. Markets are watching energy prices closely for any spike that could undercut tax refunds and consumer relief. The high-stakes diplomatic and military standoff comes as the world weighs the blockade's effectiveness against the risks of escalation. Mediation efforts continue as the fragile calm holds for now. Stay tuned. We briefly review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world. Right after this, God with Us, the story of Jesus, is a full blending of all the Gospels into one continuous narrative that misses nothing from the Savior's life. Inspired by the text of the King James Bible, God with Us is adapted to modern language, formatted for easy reading. A faithful paraphrase divided into brief stories fit for daily Bible study. God with Us, by me, Robert Gardner, at Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Now we grok the headlines from around the world. Dateline Kiev. A massive wave of Russian drone and missile attacks struck multiple locations across Ukraine, killing at least 15 to 16 people, including a 12-year-old child in Kiev, and injuring more than 100 others. Ukrainian officials say the barrage underscores how the Iran conflict is distracting international support from their defense against Russia. Dateline East London, South Africa. South African opposition leader Julius Malema of the Economic Freedom Fighters has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for unlawfully firing a gun at a 2018 political rally. Prosecutors had sought up to 15 years. Malema's lawyers plan to appeal this conviction. Dateline Washington and New York. On U.S. Tax Day, House Republicans, led by Chairwoman McClain, are focusing on tax cuts for working families, while Democrats and New York City Mayor Mamdani, the first Muslim mayor of New York, also a Marxist, are pushing the first-ever citywide Tax the Rich, also notorious as a Tax the Whites plan. Treasury officials highlighted average refunds rising 11% across the nation to about $3,400 each. Dateline, the U.S. Federal Court. A federal jury has found that Live Nation and Ticketmaster illegally monopolized the concert ticket market, a verdict that could reshape pricing and competition in the live entertainment industry. Have you priced concert tickets lately? This observer has, so this observer is staying home for now. Dateline, Utah. In the ongoing investigation into the 2025 assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the ATF reports a bullet jacket from a .30 caliber round was recovered during the autopsy. This has raised inevitable questions about its potential match to the suspect's rifle. Now, digging into the headlines, this observer sees past the clickbait and can tell you the results did not rule out the rifle that was recovered at the scene. Dateline, Washington, D.C. President Trump has proposed constructing a new triumphal arch in the nation's capital, twice as tall as the Lincoln Memorial, at about 250 feet, featuring a liberty figure, eagles, and patriotic inscriptions as part of the nation's 250th anniversary celebrations. Dateline, Australia. Firefighters continue battling an unprecedented blaze at a major Australian oil refinery, which threatens nationwide petrol supplies at a time when the Iran conflict is already straining global energy markets, especially places like Australia. Are you as suspicious about this untimely fire as this observer? Dateline, Beijing. China's National Bureau of Statistics reported the economy grew at 5% year-on-year in the first quarter, beating analyst forecasts despite headwinds from the Iran war, energy shocks, and global tensions. For what it's worth, this observer is never sure of official numbers he hears from places like Beijing or Washington, D.C. Dateline, London. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer warned technology bosses that online safety for children can't go on like this, pressing social media firms to take greater responsibility amid rising concerns over AI-driven bullying, insurance scams using fake images, and harmful content. Now, if this wasn't coming from globalists' puppets, this observer might think it's a good idea, but he is certain that any restrictions the Europeans impose will be carried out in the most freedom-chilling fashion possible. Dateline, London. A BBC investigation reveals migrants in the UK are making false domestic abuse claims to secure the right to remain, with one reporter told just how to fabricate such a claim, prompting renewed calls for stricter verification in the wide-open island nation. Dateline, the United States and global Snap Inc., that's the owner of Snapchat, is cutting approximately 1,000 jobs. That's 16% of its global workforce, citing artificial intelligence's ability to reduce repetitive tasks. This observer can tell you that Grok is a tremendous help in putting together Grok the News. Dateline, New York, New York. The S&P 500 closed at a fresh record high, recovering all losses sustained since the start of the U.S.-Iran conflict, as the current ceasefire appears to be holding for now. This observer is himself invested in the S&P 500 and is glad his patience and confidence in America is paying off. And he hopes it is for you too. I thank you for listening. Please join me tomorrow to once again Grok the News. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed and God bless.